You ever have one of those moments that feel small at first? Just a beat in the background, barely worth remembering. A gesture, a glance, a decision so ordinary it vanishes by morning. And then it changes everything. This isn't a story about fate. It's about what happens when you pick someone up, thinking it's just another mile, another fare, and end up driving straight into the kind of truth most people spend their whole lives avoiding. I was behind the wheel, but I wasn't in control. Not even close. I was never much for destiny. If something happened, it happened. Bad luck, bad weather, bad decision. Whatever. You drive a cab in this city long enough, and the only thing you learn is that life doesn't owe you squat. It was a Thursday, I think. One of those gray days where even the sky seems hungover. The heater in my Crown Vic had given up sometime in November, and I was driving in 3 layers, sipping coffee that tasted like melted plastic from the bodega on 6th. I was 2 rides behind on my rent-to-owner quota for the week and debating whether I could get away with sleeping in the car again when I saw him. Standing on the corner of 44th and Amsterdam. Brown coat. Faded hat. No umbrella, despite the mist that clung to everything like a secret. He had one hand raised, slow and deliberate, like he wasn't sure I'd stop. But I did. Something about him, maybe the way he looked through the windshield instead of at it, made me pause. He opened the door like it was older than both of us and slid into the back seat without a word. "Where to?" I asked, turning the meter on. He looked at me through the rearview mirror. Eyes sharp. Blue. The kind of eyes you didn't expect in a man with that many wrinkles. "Drive," he said. "That's it. Just drive." I gave him a sideways glance. "You gotta give me something more than that, sir." He smiled faintly. "Tell you what, son. Just take me around. Let's call it a city tour. And when I'm done, I'll make it worth your while." I should have said no. I really should have. I needed money, not mystery. But my gut, it didn't squirm. And that mattered more than I like to admit. So I drove. We looped through the Upper West Side, down to Battery Park, across to Brooklyn Heights. He didn't say much, but every so often he'd lean forward and ask questions. Not about me, about the city. About who still lived in the brownstones. Whether the diners were still open past midnight. Whether the old clock in Grand Central still worked. Like he was checking on ghosts. "You from here?" I asked finally. "Long time ago," he said. "Before people forgot what neighborhoods meant." I nodded. "Yeah, gentrification's a hell of a drug." That got a real laugh out of him. Soft, wheezy, like he hadn't used it in a while. The ride lasted almost 2 hours. When we finally stopped, outside a bookstore I'd never noticed on a quiet side street in Midtown, he handed me a $100 bill. I looked at it, then back at him. "This is way too much, sir." He held up a hand. "Consider it an investment." "An investment?" He didn't answer. Just opened the door and paused before getting out. "What's your name?" he asked. "Dev. Dev Carter." He nodded slowly. "Drive safe, Dev." Then he was gone. Just like that. I stared at the 100 in my hand for a long minute. The paper felt different. Not just because of the number on it, but because of what it meant. Something had shifted. I didn't know what yet, but it was about to turn everything upside down. I didn't think about him much after that. I mean, not at first. He was just another odd passenger with deep pockets and a quiet vibe. New York has a few of those walking around, ghosts in corduroy, asking questions no one answers anymore. But 3 days later, a manila envelope showed up taped to the windshield of my cab. I found it early, about 6 in the morning, parked outside Sal's Deli. I'd been living on egg and cheese and black coffee, watching my checking account beg for mercy. I almost didn't see the envelope through the frost. No name. No address. Just a single business card inside. Whitmore Urban Ventures. Harlan G. Whitmore, senior partner. Below it, a line scrawled in pen. "Sometimes, a good ride deserves a destination." The name hit me like a cold slap. Whitmore. That was the guy. No doubt. A billionaire. I remembered reading about him last year. Some Forbes piece about legacy investments and quiet philanthropy. The article said he used to take the subway to meetings just to keep the temperature of the city. Whatever the hell that meant. And this? This felt like something out of a movie. One minute, I'm just a guy trying to keep the wheels turning, and now a real-life Scrooge McDuck is sending me envelopes? I figured it had to be a joke. Maybe some prank by Donnie or the Night Guys. But when I flipped the card over, I saw a phone number and an address downtown. In one word. Come. I sat in the cab for a long time, fingers frozen to the steering wheel, staring at that damn card. I'd seen enough bad decisions made in alleyways and impulse tattoos to know when a door looked too good to be true. But I also knew something else. Nothing changes if you don't move. So I went. The building was tucked between a wine bar and a law office, unassuming from the outside. Inside? Marble lobby. No security desk, just a single elevator that opened like it had been waiting for me. No button panel either. It just took me straight to the top. The doors opened onto a glass-walled office so quiet I could hear the hum of the city beneath us. Harlan was standing near the window, hands behind his back, like he was watching a storm that hadn't started yet. He didn't turn when he spoke. "You're early. Didn't realize there was a set time." "There wasn't," he said. "But you showed up. That's what matters." He finally turned. Same coat. Same calm. But there was a sharpness in his eyes now, like he'd flipped some internal switch. "You like driving, Dev?" I blinked. "I guess. It's a job. What if it could be more than that?" I didn't answer. He walked to the desk, opened a drawer, and pulled out a stack of papers. Dropped them on the glass like a magician playing his final card. A business license. Pre-registered in my name. Dev Carter Transport, LLC. My jaw clenched. "What is this?" "A seed," he said. "You drove me without asking who I was. You listened. You saw me. You didn't rush me. Do you know how rare that is in a city built on noise?" I shook my head, still stunned. "I'm not a business guy. Neither was I when I started," he said. "But I had someone give me a shot. Now I'm giving you one." He gestured at the papers. "The car. The license. Startup funds. All yours. A fleet, if you want it. A car service built on something different. No gimmicks. Just respect and reliability." I stared at him. "Why me?" "Because you didn't ask," he said. That hit harder than I wanted to admit. I didn't say yes. Not right away. My head was spinning. My chest felt too small for my ribs. He seemed to understand. "Take a day," he said. "But if you're in, call the number on the card. They'll handle the rest." I nodded, backed away, half in a trance. And before the elevator doors closed, he said something I still haven't forgotten. "Just because the world tries to forget men like you, doesn't mean you have to forget yourself." I didn't sleep that night. Too many possibilities. Too many what-ifs. But by morning, I'd made my choice. And once I called that number, there was no going back. Not just because of what I was walking into, but because of what was about to follow me out. I signed the paperwork 2 days later, hands trembling, heart pounding like I was about to jump off the building without checking the landing. The lawyer Whitmore sent was too polished. Young, but cold-eyed. She brought a laptop, contracts, and a disposable phone preloaded with a number marked operations. Said her name was Lila. No last name. "Everything's been arranged," she told me. "You'll receive the first transfer within 24 hours. Use it wisely." "How much?" I asked. She slid a folder across the table. "Enough." It was more than enough. $100,000 in seed money. A leased fleet of 3 late-model electric sedans. Insurance. Digital infrastructure already built. Even a web presence. All I had to do was show up and not screw it up. Whitmore didn't call. Didn't text. No follow-up. Just disappeared back into his billionaire ether while I scrambled to stand upright in a suit that still smelled like the clearance rack. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't broke. I was overwhelmed. You don't realize how much being poor shapes your habits until money shows up. I still flinched when I reached for brand-name coffee. Still pocketed napkins from diners like they were gold. And even with all that cash in the account, I still checked the balance every day, just to make sure it wasn't a dream. The garage they set me up with was tucked under the J train in Queens, nothing fancy, but clean, modern, and weirdly empty. I met the mechanics, the dispatch guys, and one middle-aged woman named Patrice who handled admin with the quiet energy of someone who could end you with a spreadsheet. We called the company Northlight. Whitmore's idea, apparently. Said it sounded honest. Business rolled in slow at first, word of mouth, local contracts. We focused on elder transport, medical appointments, airport rides. No surge pricing, no tip tricks. Just good drivers, fair wages, and respect. It was working. For the first time since I left high school, I had something that looked like a future. Then Harlan vanished. I noticed it because the call stopped. The number on the back of his card went dark. Lila wouldn't answer. The emails bounced. At first, I figured he was just traveling. Or testing me. Some billionaire disappearing act, letting the apprentice see if they could survive without the leash. But then, on a Wednesday morning, I got a call from a blocked number. "Dev Carter," a voice asked. Yeah. You were the last known person to speak with Mr. Whitmore. We need you to come in. I froze. Come in where? Manhattan North Precinct. Ask for Detective Abrams. I hung up and sat in silence. The air felt too still, like the calm before something very bad. Detective Abrams wasn't what I expected. Mid-40s, glasses, blazer with one busted button. He didn't look like someone who spent his nights chasing ghosts, but his eyes told a different story, the kind of tired that isn't just physical. We're not accusing you of anything, he said, voice level. But Mr. Whitmore is missing, and you were mentioned in his last calendar entry. I blinked. What does that mean? It means his staff says he hadn't scheduled a meeting in weeks. Except for you. A D. Carter, entry logged the morning after your visit. Then he vanished. I sat back, heart crawling into my throat. Vanished how? Didn't show up to board meetings. Didn't call his estate lawyer. His penthouse is untouched. Phone off. No credit activity. What about his family? I asked. Abrams raised an eyebrow. Don't believe everything you read. Whitmore had enemies. Partners. Old scars. He leaned forward. You know anything about where he might go? I shook my head. No. He didn't talk about himself much. Abrams watched me for a moment, then handed me a photo. A shot of Whitmore at some gala, standing with a man I didn't recognize. Tall, bald, expensive suit and a stare like a threat. You ever seen him? No. He's called Vincent Arlo. Private equity. Used to be close with Whitmore, until their split in 2018. There was some fallout. I didn't know what he wanted me to say. I barely understood what world I'd stepped into. Then Abrams said something that chilled me. If Whitmore's dead, he said, you could be in serious danger. I left the precinct with sweat under my collar and 100 questions in my pocket. I didn't believe Harlan was dead. I couldn't. Not like that. Not quietly. Not after all that talk about legacy and change. But as the weeks passed and the silence thickened, I started to feel the shift. Weird calls started hitting the dispatch line. People asking for rides to abandoned addresses. Requests for unlisted names. One of our drivers said a man in a gray suit offered him $500 to talk about my schedule. And then Patrice found the security footage. A black car, unmarked, tinted, parked across from the garage every night for a week. Watching. Waiting. I didn't know what I was part of anymore. Only that it wasn't just about driving anymore. It never was. A month after the last real sign of Harlan Whitmore, I found the safety deposit box. It wasn't addressed to me. It didn't even have my name on it. But a courier showed up at the garage with a manila envelope stamped with the seal of Whitmore Urban Ventures and a sticky note. Dev. Check Chase on Fulton. Box 1142. Tell them Harlan sent you. I thought it was a prank at first, until I walked into that bank. The teller didn't blink. Just asked for ID, made a call, and led me into a secure room that smelled like air conditioning and old ink. The vault was steel, brushed, and humming like it held more than money. Box 1142 opened with a click that felt too heavy for its size. Inside was a phone. A cheap flip model, the kind that doesn't track you, doesn't update, doesn't tell you when someone's watching. It was already on. One text, unread. If you're reading this, then I didn't vanish by choice. I just stood there, staring at it like it might burn through my hand. Another text came through 5 seconds later. Go to the storage unit in Red Hook. Locker number 9. Use the key taped under this phone. I flipped the phone and sure enough, a tiny silver key. I should have walked away, but I didn't. The storage facility in Red Hook was tucked between a cement factory and a warehouse that only opened at night. The whole place looked like a conspiracy. I used the key, passed 2 cameras, and found locker number 9. Inside, a duffel bag and a flash drive. I didn't open the bag until I was back at the garage, door locked, windows covered. It was full of cash, neatly bundled, in stacks wrapped with foreign bank seals. Euros, yen, dollars. More money than I'd ever seen in one place, and all of it clean. New. Crisp, not a trace of dust or rot. And the flash drive? Blueprints. Spreadsheets. Company registries. Contracts. Names. Most of them tied to shell corporations I'd never heard of, except one. Vincent Arlo. There was even a folder labeled Contingency, Carter. Inside, a 1-page document. My name. My social security number. A background check from 5 years ago. And handwritten notes in the margin. Trust, high. Resourceful. Loyal. Doesn't rattle. It was Harlan's handwriting. I recognized the slope of the ease, the slight break in his tees. The man had been watching me before I ever picked him up, and he prepared for the possibility that he might not be around. That meant one thing. This was deeper than a missing person. This was a handoff. The next morning, Lila called. Her voice wasn't as polished this time. There was static on the line, a low hum like someone breathing into the wrong end of a bad plan. You found the package, she said. Yes. You need to go dark. Why? She sighed. Because Arlo's looking for you now. I swallowed. What does he want? To bury what you found. I stared at the duffel on the table. Is Harlan dead? Pause. Then, not yet. Click. That night, I moved into a friend's basement. No address, no online orders, no routines. I parked the Northlight fleet in a secure lot and shut down operations temporarily. I told the team we were restructuring. But the truth? I was watching my back more than the books. Because someone was coming. And they weren't looking for a ride. They were looking to erase the trail. I stopped using my real name. Introduced myself as Jack to the deli guy, the laundromat woman, the guy who rented the storage locker next to mine and hummed Sinatra off-key while stacking boxes of who knows what. People ask if disappearing is easy. It's not. It's not changing your clothes or ditching your phone. It's killing every piece of routine you've ever known. It's brushing your teeth at 4 a.m. and walking the same block twice in case someone's tailing you. It's forgetting comfort on purpose. And still, they found me. It started with a photograph. Slipped under the door of the basement I'd been crashing in. Me, walking out of the Red Hook facility, duffel in hand. Time-stamped. Cropped close. Then a second one, 2 days later. This time with Lila. Her face blurred. Mine circled in red marker. I didn't have a plan anymore. I had a clock. And it was ticking. I reached out to the only person I could trust, Marcus and Gwen, ex-cabbie, semi-retired hacker, and the guy who taught me how to drive a stick shift in a parking lot behind a Kmart when I was 19. He met me at an all-night diner in Staten Island, wearing 3 hoodies and sunglasses, like that would make him less obvious. This better not be about crypto, he said, sipping coffee with 4 sugars. It's about Harlan Whitmore. He froze. Then, slowly, that old man's dead. No. He's hiding. Same thing, he muttered. So what did you do? Piss off the Illuminati. Close. I handed him the flash drive. He plugged it into his beat-up ThinkPad without another word. 5 minutes in, he looked up. Jesus, Dev. Yeah, this isn't just shell companies. This is money laundering through third-tier tech firms. Real estate scams. Defense contracts. Global arms shit. And Arlo. Marcus pulled up a file. Arlo's face stared back like a threat inside a passport photo. He's the cleaner. The guy who steps in when empires need to be restructured quietly. If he's after you, it's not to talk. I leaned back, the diner suddenly too loud. Can you trace him? Marcus hesitated. I can try, but I need a server bounce. Burners. VPNs. And about 3 days of not being shot at. Deal. He smirked. You always bring me the fun stuff. 3 days turned into 4. On day 5, Marcus disappeared. Just gone. His place ransacked. Laptop missing. Blood on the corner of the desk, smeared like someone had tried to wipe it but gave up halfway. No body. No note. Just silence. I called every contact I had. Got nowhere. Until my burner buzzed at 2:16 a.m. Blocked number. Audio message. I played it. A voice, modulated, barely above a whisper. Stop digging, Dev. This isn't your crusade. Walk away, and you get to keep your name. I replayed it 3 times. Then deleted it. Because I knew something now, something I hadn't been ready to admit. This wasn't just about Harlan. This was about the kind of men who build shadows out of paper trails. The kind who turn philanthropy into a cover for rot. And the more I ran, the deeper in I got. I had one card left to play. The duffel. I couldn't trace Arlo. Couldn't find Lila. Couldn't protect my crew anymore. But I could use the money. Use it the way Harlan wanted, loud, public, disruptive. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I bought a billboard. Right in Midtown. White background. No logo. Just 4 words in bold black text. Where's Harlan Whitmore? Below that, a QR code. And when you scanned it, it led to a site, a manifesto, a digital dossier. The flash drive's contents, redacted, scrubbed, anonymized, but enough to start a fire. I paid for 3 weeks up front. By the time the news picked it up, it was too late to erase it. The name Whitmore was everywhere. And Arlo? He was going to have to step out of the dark. Because now the world was watching. The media storm came in fast. I wasn't ready for how quick a whisper could become a roar. By Friday morning, major outlets had picked up the story. The billboard got posted to Reddit, then Twitter, then looped on morning news under headlines like, "Where's Harlan Whitmore? Anonymous campaign sparks speculation. Billionaire benefactor or vanishing act?" And suddenly, I was a question people wanted answered, which meant I had to move. Again, I ditched the basement, rerouted the Northlight accounts, switched to another burner. Patrice, bless her stubborn heart, ran dispatch out of a borrowed garage in Flatbush and didn't ask questions. But I knew it couldn't last. When you shine a light on a monster, one of two things happens: it scurries or it lunges. On Monday, it lunged. I came home, temporary crash pad above an old laundromat in Queens, and found the door open. Not busted. Open. Like someone wanted me to know they were inside and didn't need to break anything to prove it. I stepped in slow, every breath tight. Empty. Nothing missing. Until I got to the kitchen. A burner phone sat on the table. Not mine. New. Black. One missed call. No number. I answered. Silence. Then, "You're very bad at staying quiet, Mr. Carter." Arlo. It wasn't a guess. I'd heard that voice once before, filtered, polished, clipped. The kind of voice that belonged to suits and threat assessments. "You're late," I said. He chuckled, the sound cold. "You don't understand what you've touched." "I understand enough to know you're sweating." Another pause. Then, "Meet me. 1 hour. Battery tunnel entrance. Come alone." Click. I didn't want to go. Everything in me screamed it was a trap. But I'd spent too long being chased. Too long waiting. I wanted a face to aim at. So I went. The tunnel was quiet. Rain slicked the asphalt, and the whole place smelled like iron and bad decisions. I parked near the south entrance, under a busted streetlight. He showed up in a town car. Not a goon mobile. Just subtle. He got out like he wasn't scared of anything. Slim, dark suit, salt and pepper hair. Eyes like burnt ice. He looked at me like I was an overdue bill. "Mr. Carter," he said, hands folded. "Arlo, I admire the noise you've made." "Good. Because it's just the start." He smiled. "You don't know what you're doing. You're playing with structures that existed before you were born. And now they're bleeding." He didn't react. Just stepped closer, calm as a priest. "Whitmore gave you a toy box. But he didn't tell you the cost." "What cost?" He leaned in. "Harlan was dying. Cancer. Months left. He didn't tell you because he needed a legacy. Someone to carry the fire, but fire burns, Mr. Carter." I didn't flinch. "I don't care if he was dying. He tried to fix something. You just buried it. Because fixing it threatens power," he said simply. "Order. The system." "And what?" "You're the system." He didn't answer. Because he didn't have to. Then he handed me a flash drive. "Everything you want. Harlan's last file. But if you release it, you don't get to run anymore. You won't be a whistleblower. You'll be a fugitive. And everyone you know, they go down too." I stared at it. "What if I say no?" He shrugged. "Then we erase you quietly. No headlines. No billboards. Just a blip." He turned to go. Then paused. "One more thing. Marcus and Gwen? He's alive. But he won't be if you keep playing hero." And just like that, he vanished. Back in the car, I didn't start the engine. Just stared at the flash drive in my palm. It felt too light for what it held. But I knew I couldn't bury it. Not after what Harlan tried to do. Not after what Arlo admitted. This wasn't just about Whitmore anymore. It was about what you do when power offers you mercy and you spit in its face. That night, I uploaded the file. All of it. Names. Deals. Proof of bribes. Medical records showing Harlan's diagnosis. Internal emails between Arlo and offshore trustees laundering funds through fake nonprofits. I didn't redact a damn thing. And when the story dropped, the whole city lit up. Because the truth wasn't just a spark anymore. It was wildfire. I didn't sleep the night the story broke. Didn't eat. Barely breathed. Just sat in the Northlight office, what was left of it, staring at the screen as headlines multiplied like cockroaches in the dark. Whitmore files leak. Billionaire's secret campaign to expose corporate corruption. Arlo under investigation for financial crimes, foreign influence, racketeering. Anonymous source cracks private equity ring. They didn't print my name. Yet. But people started connecting the dots. One journalist called me the taxi turncoat. Another called me a reluctant Robin Hood. Cute. But none of them knew the real story. They didn't know about the brown coat. The slow ride through a sleeping city. The man who tipped me $100 and changed the rest of my life with a single word: investment. 2 days later, the DOJ launched an official inquiry. Subpoenas flew like confetti. Arlo vanished again. His firm's offices were temporarily closed for renovation. They wouldn't find him easily. Men like Arlo are slippery, built to survive collapse. But they'd slowed him, and that meant something. Marcus called me from a burner payphone in Toronto. "You almost got me killed, you bastard," he said, voice hoarse. "I missed you too." He laughed, then coughed. "You did good, man. Real good." I asked if he was okay. He said no, but he'd live. I went back to driving. Not because I had to, because I needed to. The silence of the road was the only thing that made sense again. Northlight became something bigger. We rebranded. Went regional. People heard the story, enough of it to care. Enough of it to trust. Turns out, people want to ride with someone who didn't sell out. Crazy, right? The garage in Queens is still there. Patrice runs it like a fortress. Sometimes she smirks and calls me boss, but we both know better. She's the boss. I just sign things and try not to mess them up. Lila showed up again once. No warning. Just walked in, handed me an envelope, and left before I could ask a single question. Inside? A photograph. Me and Harlan. From that first ride. Taken through the rearview mirror. On the back, "You passed. H." So here's the truth. I didn't win. Not really. I'm still broke in a lot of ways. Still scared sometimes when I see a black car idling too long outside my place. Still waiting for the next shoe to drop. But I didn't break. And maybe that's what matters. Because I know now what he meant, Harlan. When he said some rides are worth more than the fare. He didn't invest in a business. He invested in a man. In me. And every time I slide behind the wheel, I remember. Sometimes, the smallest turn of the wheel takes you the furthest from where you started. But maybe, just maybe, it takes you exactly where you need to be.